And now for the interesting ones, right? We're going to look at how to import live data from one Google Sheet to another Google Sheet. So let's get started. Let's take this as our parent Google Sheet from wherein we need to take the data and put it into this Google Sheet that is called importing the live data. So we're going to take data from the parent sheet and link it to this child sheet, right? And we're going to do so in such a way that when data is changed here, it will automatically change here, right? So it's a very simple function that Google Sheets has inbuilt known as import range. So we're going to select cell A1, hit equal to, and start typing it in import range and hit it. So now the first thing it's asking, right, is for the spreadsheet URL so that it knows where to pick up the data from. So we're going to go back to our parent spreadsheet, copy the URL and paste it. Before pasting, remember that you have to paste strings in quotation marks. So we open the quotation mark, paste a string and shut it. And now the next part of the formula, it asks you for a range string. So within the parent spreadsheet, where exactly do you want to pick up that data from, right? So let's go to the next part with a comma. And over here, you can read all about the function. Anyway, so let's find the range string. The range string is essentially telling the Google Sheet where in the spreadsheet do we have to go. So which sheet and which range, right? So we're looking at sheet 1 where all the data is hosted and we need columns maybe A to L. All right. Now we open the quotation marks again, paste the sheet name, right? So now we have the spreadsheet URL, we have the spreadsheet sheet name, and now we have to define the range. So I put an exclamation mark and now it is followed by the range. I shut the quotation marks and I hit enter. We're almost there, right? Now the last thing it's going to do is ask you to allow access. In order to do this, you need to be the owner or an editor of the parent sheet as well. So we're going to hit allow access, and in a moment's notice all the data is going to be populated, right? So now let's look at how it's actually updating itself in real time. Let's say I want to make column D, right? I want to change all this data. I just want to call all this data over here. I want to make all of it the letter D. So I'm going to go back to the parent sheet, hit D over here, just D, and kind of push it down the full column, right? So now column D just has the letter D in it. Now we're going to go back to the child sheet where we use the import range function, and there you go. It has updated the data in real time. And for the final part, we're going to look at the second way that we can import live data into our Google Sheet from a web page. So let's get to it. I'm going to go to our previous sheet wherein we'd imported the data from the parent spreadsheet and kind of create a new sheet in here so we're clear about what we're doing. Now, this is a simple web page, right? Simple enough, is just a list of countries in alphabetical order. Okay, so back to the spreadsheet. In cell A1, we enter the formula that says import HTML. All right. So now you see that the start of the formula is very similar to import range, wherein it asks you for the URL. So we will copy the URL, open a quotation marks, paste the URL, close the quotation marks. Now the second field that the formula is asking for is query. Query is actually very simple. To understand what query is, just head over back to your web page. Now let's say this is the data that we want to import, right? Look at the data. You just need to determine whether the data is in the format of a list or a table. A list will not have more than one column, but it will have several rows, whereas a table will have several rows and several columns, right? So this is a table. Therefore, we will open the quotation marks and enter the word table, close the quotation marks. Finally, it asks for something known as an index. Index is simply that within this web page, when we're looking for tables, which table are we looking for? So since this is pretty much the first table that's visible on this web page, it should be number one, right? So we hit number one, close the bracket and hit enter. And within seconds, it should populate the sheet, right? We're almost done. And now there's a little trick up my sleeve which I like to do to kind of make the spreadsheet look much sexier. Yeah, that's it. A good looking spreadsheet with real-time data from the internet.